Saylor's predicting about a 30% compound annual growth rate for Bitcoin over the next 10 years or so. The QQQ, the NASDAQ, gives about 15% on an average year. Obviously, the last year has been pretty extraordinary. The last 2 years have been pretty extraordinary for tech stocks because of all the AI trade stuff. But Michael Saylor is very interesting because I like this idea. I saw somebody post this idea recently. I was like, oh, that's fascinating. And basically, it's not that Saylor's not predicting $1 million Bitcoin. Saylor is engineering $1 million Bitcoin. What do you think about that idea?
I think it's interesting. If you asked me last week why Bitcoin was trading in the 80s, I would tell you that smart investors are now buying Bitcoin ahead of when STRC rises above par, and they know that Saylor is going to automatically buy billions of dollars worth. So STRC surpassed $100 today. It was trading at $100, below $100 for the last couple of weeks. You can literally go on an STRC dashboard and see in real time how much demand there is for Bitcoin from Saylor. Like, who doesn't want to front run that? So I think it's going to become a self-fulfilling flywheel to some degree as long as STRC, remains popular. And, so for the next 2 days, he's going to probably buy $2-3 billion worth of Bitcoin. I don't know, the next few days coming into the 15th. And then that's going to become a bi-monthly thing, assuming he gets approval from the SEC, and it'll probably become an even more efficient machine. But I do think that he's to some degree engineering it. Now, I see all the tweets that say, he's buying more than was mined today. I think mining now is a rounding error. So I don't think the halving matters as far as that. It's just not enough Bitcoin left that the supply reduction matters in the size of the current market. But somebody buying billions of dollars every month on a schedule without relenting ever is definitely something that you can count on in a limited supply asset generally. And you put that together and ETFs and demand. And now I think we're going to be starting to get index ETFs and all these other products, and they're always going to have Bitcoin in them. I just don't really see the bearish case right now. Like, the bearish case is major black swan across the board for everything. And even then you look back, you go, what happened in March of 2020? We had COVID is the black swan of all black swans. We all remember Black Thursday, Bitcoin bottom at March 11th or 12th, I think March 12th, went under $4,000. They had to turn BitMEX off to not send it to zero. And the stock market bottomed 12 days later, I think, and what did Bitcoin do from there? It went up 17 times while the stock market doubled. So even if we get the black swan, even if Satoshi's coins are unlocked by quantum or whatever it is, you buy the hell out of that one major dip because it's a generational opportunity. So, give me that.
Yes.
Give me the black swan because, Bitcoin has proven in the past to be where you want to be when things bottom. So I love the volatility. I love buying lower. We sit around my office and we're so mad it's 82. Like, damn it, I wanted to buy more at 50 or 60 or whatever.
Yeah, we're send it to 38K like some of these guys are saying, man. Let's go.
I'm not selling it. I'm not selling it. Give me 38.
Mike McGlone's calling for 10K, right? Is he still calling for 10K, Mike McGlone?
Every day, and I'm the one who's platforming it, unfortunately. I love Mike McGlone, like a brother, but his bearishness is astounding.
I have never had a chance to talk with Mike, but I've seen a few interviews with him. I quite like Mike too. I'd like to have him on the channel sometime and talk to him.
And for years. 3, 4, 5 years we've been doing 2 shows together a week. But we met when he was a massive Bitcoin bull.
What happened, Mike? What happened? Why did he become so bearish all the time?
Bloomberg happened.
Bloomberg. So the big news from Saylor, of course, has been recently that he said, well, maybe we'll sell some at some point. And, you think about it as a thought like, Saylor buys at 70K, 80K, whatever. And when Bitcoin's $1 million, he can sell 0.1 BTC to recoup the investment of the 70, 80K BTC and take the extra 20K out of that or whatever to pay off the dividends. I think people have been kind of hyperventilating about this a bit online. What's your take on this whole thing about Saylor saying, well, Strategy may at some point sell some Bitcoin?
So first of all, I'm a very strong believer in strong opinions loosely held. So, any intelligent person in my mind, even if they have high conviction and are emotionally attached to an idea, when they're presented with superior information, they evolve on that idea. And I think that's the benchmark of the most brilliant people ever. And you've seen his evolution, I think, from, dismissive of Bitcoin to full-on Bitcoin maxis, now talking about yield tokens and looping in DeFi, which I find about a little inside baseball. I was at Consensus this week, and I was texting with Saylor and his team trying to get him on the schedule, and we kept moving him around. And then late Tuesday night, we're finally like, hey, just come in at 8:30 in the morning before the conference and we'll talk on Wednesday. great. I wake up, wipe the sleep out of my eyes on Wednesday, and I look at the news. I look at my schedule. I'm like, oh, Saylor 8:30. Glad we got that done. Look at the news. Michael Saylor in earnings call says he'll sell Bitcoin. So I get the first interview with Saylor to ask him,
Nice.
what's up with selling Bitcoin by total, kismet, serendipity. And so I think his answers are very rational about it, but I think there's something deeper that he's not saying, which is that he needs to say these things for the SEC. And I'll tell you why. So I don't know if I'm allowed to share this, but you get it here first. We had to submit the transcript of the interview to the SEC. He has to submit transcripts of conversations now to the SEC because he's proposing the 2 times a month on STRC. So now that he has a security that he's created, that he's making specific claims about the backing, he can't have an encumbered asset that is dead to the market by saying he'll never sell it and have that qualify as backing for the security that he's issuing. The SEC needs to hear that if retail gets wrecked or if it loses par or if they can't pay the dividends, that they'd be willing to sell because of how they're advertising it. They'd be willing to sell Bitcoin to make sure that those remain consistent. So to me, he may sell some here and there, as I said, to inoculate it, but I think it's something he literally can't have STRC as a security out in the market without telling the market that I would be willing to sell what's backing it to make sure that retail is safe.
Interesting. Very, very interesting take, Scott. I like that. That's very interesting. I love it.
It turns out the SEC's job is actually to protect retail, and they take that very seriously.
It's, the SEC gets a lot of shit, and sometimes they really, really deserve it, man. They really, Gary Gensler's regime, that was pretty crazy. But definitely the SEC, if they actually have good intentions, I think the current guy in there has been doing a decent job, then, there's actually room in there because there's some bullshit in the crypto space, man. I mean, my goodness gracious, the amount of coming into crypto is like a bright-eyed, bushy-eyed investor, I'm going to buy crypto coins, and then all your money's gone.
Yeah, let me buy all those Trump things. They're going to go great. President's going to pump our bags.
Trump coin to the moon. Oh, Melania coin. Great. Let's put my life savings in that. I missed Trump yesterday. I'll buy this instead. Oh. Hey, I want to do 1 or 2 more questions on Bitcoin for you, and then I've got to take this in a little bit of a different direction because I've got some interesting things I want to ask you too. But the Bitcoin halving, is it relevant? That's the whole 4-year cycle thing. Let's just the 4-year cycle. Is the 4-year cycle still a thing? I know we went down on basically the date that was supposed to go down on, and here we are. We're now still only $82,000, well below $40,000 below the previous all-time high. Do you think the 4-year cycle will remain the 4-year cycle? Has it ever really been a 4-year cycle? Will it get broken? What are your
I don't think it remains a 4-year cycle. I think, first of all, 2 or 3 examples of something are not a statistically relevant data point, right? A statistician would say you've had like 3 halvings that Bitcoin's been a legitimate asset. You can't look at that as a significant data set. So that doesn't mean that we didn't have what looked like a 4-year cycle and certain things that rhymed. I would just say that already this time, so many things were different outside of the October 6th top that it didn't look like a cycle to me. And we know the liquidity and flows and everything else are coming from a different place. So it could rhyme still, but look at the fact that we got the Bitcoin spot ETF approved mid-cycle and got a new all-time high way too early if you were a Bitcoin, if you were a cycle believer. And a huge part of the cycle is the altcoin move that comes anytime Bitcoin's sideways, and we never got that, right? So altcoins didn't have a cycle at all. They've just effectively trended down for half a decade already. So no, I don't think that it's going to look the same. The halving itself, like I said, is a rounding error at this point, right? It's irrelevant. Not from a fundamental perspective, by the way. I think the halving and limited supply is incredible. I just mean from a market perspective. And I think that if we had a 4-year cycle, maybe it was more about business cycles and election cycles and liquidity. And I think we've kind of broken those too. So I just don't really see it. I think it, more of a steady march.
Yeah, when you look at the business cycle and where we are with the rates and all that stuff, it just becomes a harder sort of idea to put so much belief behind. I understand we kind of memed ourselves into that, and had October 10th not happened, who knows, man. It actually, when you say that altcoin's been dead for half a decade, it's hard, man. Like half a decade, that's a lot of life.
Yeah,
that's a lot of life.
You and I have been here, we're waiting. I can't speak for your portfolio. I've never seen into it, but I imagine you got hundreds of dust coins.
Oh yeah. Somebody just like $1 this, $2 that, all kinds of stuff. Are there any altcoins that you're interested in or invested in right now?
I dollar cost average into Bitcoin is my primary, but I also dollar cost average into Ethereum and Solana. So and it's not because really of a fundamental maxism about any of them. I just feel like those are the three that have caught an institutional bid, or at least like have mainstream attention. So it's the easiest bet to make, right? And I even in previous cycles, people would say, how do I choose the next 100x coin or the next 1000x or this and that? And I would just say, like, I have no idea myself. So I just buy the, it's like buying the index. Buying a layer one, a popular layer one, to me is kind of like buying an index in the stock market, right? You're not going to get the 1000x of that thing, that coin, but if it's built on Solana or Ethereum, you'll get a 10% bump, because that thing happened there. So you get the kind of broad index or action. So I like owning the big layer ones, really. It's boring. I don't think they're the 100x overnight opportunities, but that's not what I'm really here for anymore. So I think those are just the safest ways to approach it. Like I said, I still have a wide portfolio. I'm just not adding to it.
Yeah. The way you look at the market and the way you invest changes over time. And this is the thing. If you think crypto's not going away, then that's why I've told a lot of people for a long time. You just buy the top few coins. You could just buy those 3 coins and you're going to be fine. Like, you're going to catch enough upside on the crypto trade without taking, with the risk adjusted returns on just owning those 3. And I own those 3 coins are the primary parts of my portfolio. Got a little bit extra spice in there, a little bit pepe, something like that. But, the bulk of it is just those ones, right? So it keeps you sane because crypto is so crazy on the fringes of it that you will drive yourself crazy. And honestly, I find the time and energy I spend on all that other random stuff is not worth the effort half the time.
Right. The Pareto principle, the 80-20, 80% of the stuff you do gives you 20% of your return. And
exactly. Exactly.
All grief. Just consolidate and buy some Bitcoin and enjoy your free time.